There's the goal at the end, and the goal's got those little dots above it. And basically what each of those dots is each dot is part of the dunk bonus.
So it's 300 points for each dot up the little line of dots at the goal. And if you wanted to get the highest score, you would try to get to the top of the goal. But there's a long animation that plays the higher up you are on the goal. So for a speed run, especially one using real time, you have to go to the bottom of the goal to save as much time as possible.
Yes. And you'll be seeing that in a lot of levels throughout this run. Oh, come on. I'm getting the super jump, but just not getting enough height. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of instances where it is always faster to aim for the bottom of the goal, just like that level.
Yeah, some of them it's kind of hard to, but still worth it.
And some of the levels, it's faster to do it, and it's also way cooler to do it. And so even if it didn't save time, it's just more fun to go for it, like that.
Something I want to mention is that this all levels category used to be just called any percent until we got an actual any percent category where you didn't have to do all the levels. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, so basically the history of this category is this was one of the first categories that we had, and this predates any percent by a very large margin. Alright, I messed up the cycles to do this level quickly, unfortunately.
It still looks pretty impressive.
But that is the first optional level. And if you're at all familiar with any percent, you might have noticed that things are going a little quicker than usual. Because like normally we skip all the cutscenes and everything like that, but in this category, you're allowed to start using a completed game file. And so as a result, you don't even need to skip the cutscenes. We can just move past them on the map since they're already unlocked.
Yeah. And we're not going to be trying to get these, but there are these scarab pieces that are little collectibles, and then also the gems. So there's a lot to do in this game, but 100% takes like, is it 3 hours?
Yeah, it's a little less than that now. Record for that is about 240 now, I think.
So, right there, the regret gates kind of like, or like those little one-way gates pushed him up, because they kind of do that, which is how he was able to get the height.
But on this level here, you might have noticed I picked up a little thing, and now I'm even more green than before, which obviously, you know,
it's perfect.
Ideally, I'm as green as possible. But this little power-up is called the Tiptoe, And you might have noticed I've been climbing around on the walls and everything, clinging to the ceiling. And that's the main gimmick for this power-up, is it gives me a wall cling and it gives me a ceiling cling. And it also gives me a little extra power-up that you're not going to see on this level, but it basically I turn into a bush, which, again, maximum green, obviously a good thing. But what the bush does, besides, you know, just giving me a bunch of leaves and everything, it also lets me go through enemies without taking damage, which is going to be very important in some levels during this.
Yeah, all of the game's power-ups kind of change the gameplay significantly, which is really cool for a level-building game like this. And now you're gonna see him completely go off the side of the screen, where creators can't place any objects past the camera boundary, but the player can still go past the camera boundary, so that can be exploited in a lot of levels.
Yeah, you might have noticed I did it earlier off the top of the map. It also works off the side of the map, and technically the bottom of the map, but gravity exists on the bottom of the map, so that makes it a lot more deadly.
And I probably should have explained this sooner, but the way sprinting works in this game is that you have to run in one direction for for 8 tiles.
Yes, and once you do that continuously in one direction, you have sprint. And in addition to the fact that, you know, you're sprinting, you're moving faster. Obviously, that's a good thing. The most important part is actually the fact that it gives you an extra tile of jump height, which is absolutely required for some strategies in this game, because you will not be able to make certain jumps without it. Also, we get a nice little hold right level here.
Yep.
The whole gimmick there is you had that giant Vakrat at the bottom just activating different obstacles and everything, but if you just jump at the right times, you can ignore all that completely. And here we have a nice little level where you're taking this sproing with you throughout the entire level. You might think, you know, having to carry something with you for the level, it's a little restrictive. We can still do a lot to skip things, thankfully. Because you just, once we get up here, we ditch that sproing. We have some new springs, new friends, and then we ditch those.
A lot of sproing tech is basically just easier versions of the package tech, like super jumps, ceiling super jumps, stuff like that, where you throw the sproing up and then get a second bounce off of it.
Ah, dang it. For style points, I was going for the pixel jump there, but I just used the sproing because it's safer.
Is there still only one required pixel jump? Or I guess not required, but...
There's only one pixel jump in the run that I go for reasonably, but that's one I go for because depending on where the sproing ends up, it's technically a little faster, but like it's way more difficult, so I don't actually ever expect to get it. But if you're wondering what we're talking about, a pixel jump was where I would land on the tiny little gap between the edge of a spike and the ground under it, because most obstacles in this game do not take up a full tile. It's more of like a little circular hitbox. And so you can land right next to a lot of obstacles as long as they're right on top of normal ground.
Yeah, so things like spikes having a smaller hitbox is part of one of several mechanics that are supposed to help make the game less tight or more forgiving.
Yeah, and you might have noticed, you know, I picked that little green guy there and plopped him down somewhere. Yeah, those are called scrubs. They can be used to push down switches. It's not exactly intended for me to use them to push down switches all the time, but it is possible.
And it definitely wasn't intended in that level. You were supposed to get a box, but
Yes.
we never saw that.
Yeah, we kind of skipped that whole entire section of the level as a result. And this level, one of the only times you'll see it in the entire campaign, something called item hopping. So when you throw an item down, it gives you that little kickback where it launches you back up into the air ever so slightly. Yeah. If you just chain together, throwing things downwards and re-grabbing it, you can just chain that infinitely and go across hazards without ever touching them.
And this is a level that I think a lot of new players struggle with because they don't really first think to try something like item hopping.
It's technically not required for that level because the way things are spaced out is you're supposed to jump off of the scrub shells.
I think that's what I did when I first played the level.
Yeah. But if you realize item hopping's there, it's obviously way easier.
And now we have another small little mechanic where whenever GR18, the player character, throws an item down, it gets a little boost upwards.
It's just like an item hopping.
Just like item hopping, just not infinite.
Yeah, but the main thing is, in other scenarios, we can use that to make jumps that we normally can't make.
Oh yeah, we're going to be seeing that in a few levels.
Also, I scuffed that ending a little bit, but I managed to save it. Okay. Now we have a nice little short dodge all the fire level. There's a few of those.
Yep.
But right after this, it's a fun level. This next one, there is a strat where I can just skip most of the level. I'm not going to do that strat because it's really difficult and kind of not really RNG, but essentially RNG. Because as you can see, there's that tunnel of with all those fire cannons on the right there. Each of these switches is turning off a different row of them. It's entirely possible to just ignore all the switches and just jump straight down. But if the timing doesn't line up, obviously you die instantly. So it's a little risky to go for, just a little.
But definitely worth it for an individual level run.
Yes.
What is the IL time for this?
I do not know off the top of my head, but I can guarantee it's probably at least half the time of whatever I just got on it.
24 seconds, still pretty good.
There we go. Yes, and it's worth mentioning those, you can see in the level title, Swoopadoop. That's what these enemies are. They're one of the biggest sources of RNG in the run, which is almost none. But when they charge at you, it's randomized exactly what direction they go in, and it's like within like about a 30-degree cone or something like that. And as you can see, we needed to bait that Swoopadoop over here, and so if he doesn't cooperate, he can end up in a very awkward spot. But
yeah.
now that we just went and got the package a little bit early, we can just super jump over the level and finish it right away.
I would say Swoopadoops are some of the most hated enemies, but I think everyone just hates all of the enemies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of them can be quite annoying. Also, it's worth mentioning on that last level, because we used the Swoopadoop, we were able to completely ignore a required tiptoe in the level. Oh, that's bad. I need that scrub shell. I did not want to get the checkpoint.
Yeah. Another example of using a scrub shell, where you're technically not supposed to.
Yes, there's going to be a switch up here that, when we press it with this scrub shell, lets us skip about like 1 or 2 puzzles. Also, by using that box to go around that corner, we can just go straight to this puzzle early. And just grab this key and go finish the level. If there's anything to say now for the host, now's a good time.
Okay, yeah, I will happily jump in to let you all know that there has been a $10 donation from Nope, It Can't. They have put that towards saving the animals in the Metroid series. We've also got that it's tagged the Metroid Spooky Mission 2 Secret Jiffy Room Challenge, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one as well. So yeah, thank you for the donation, and back to you guys.
Speaking of saving the animals, since we don't have a reward for it, I think, what are we gonna do with the blobfish at the end?
I think he deserves to live to see another day.
I agree.
But, you know, that might change for next time. Who knows?
You just decide randomly every run?
Yeah, I'll just flip a coin.
Well, I mean, if it gives you guys any indication, currently Save the Animals is losing quite massively to Save the Frames for the Metroid thing. I don't know if you want to tie that into your decision making here, but just throwing it out there. We got about $150 for Save the Frames, $82 for Save the Animals currently.
Ironically, unlike Metroid, it is actually faster to spare the Blopfush in this game. So...
Well, one of the things I will say, with the way Tiltify works, you can't put down that you want to kill the animals. So it has to be Save the Frames,
yes.
But yeah, that's not really an unfortunate thing, other than for the purposes of naming Metroid incentives.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll leave you guys to it now.
It's all good.
Those things you just saw on that level, they're called blasters. There's the trig blasters, which only fire when you press jump, when you're in them, obviously. And there's the regular blasters, which fire based on whatever delay they're set to, at the discretion of the level creator.
And this is Switch Karma. It's one of my favorite levels to do the IL for. This level, its whole gimmick is there's a lot of switches. At this point, it would have been faster not to do the super jump, but I gotta go for it because it's cooler. But the reason why this is my favorite level, assuming I get it, there's a very specific trick that is only ever useful in this level. It's called a blaster super jump. I didn't get it.
And you
so
like
basically,
doing those?
Oh yeah, they're fun. So basically the idea is, just like a normal super jump, when you get fired out of a blaster, you know, you don't have control until you hit an object. But if you throw the package and do a super jump off of it while in that state, you instantly are able to get control back as well as jump. And at the end of that level, as you saw, there's a blaster that fired straight up, and I would have been able to use that to potentially save the cycle. The problem is the timing for it is extremely tight, and every blaster requires different timing, so it's very difficult to utilize.
Okay, I guess it's not too bad when it's an optional one, and there's only one, but there are people in this game, like Sam, who will make levels where you have to do several of them in a row.
It's not that bad.
I mean, I've never attempted it, so...
Also, you might have noticed in that last level, we picked up another power-up. That power-up is called the Zipper. It's a fan favorite power-up because it lets you cheese every level to Oblivion and back. So basically, the whole idea of it is it lets you teleport a short distance in front of you. Normally that's, you know, just to go in front of through walls and stuff like that, but if things aren't properly de-cheesed, you can use it to just go through the walls of a level and just get straight to the finish early. And you will absolutely be seeing that in at least 1 or 2 levels later.
And it's not too important for this run because it's real time, not in-game time, but using Zipper does pause the in-game timer. So it's very good for getting on the leaderboards in-game.
Alright, and this level is one of the hardest optional levels to speedrun, and you will see why very quickly. Just gotta do a nice little super jump with that. Grab the pack. Oh wow. I never died to the Lazumi. I mess up the super jumps in this level like once every other attempt, but I never actually die to the enemies up there. Alright, let's just do it again. And miss the jump. Yep, this is why things go... This is one of the hardest levels, because if you mess up one thing in this entire chain of events, you have to restart the level, essentially. Alright, messed that up, but I got enough height.
Is there no checkpoints, or are you just skipping all of them?
There is a checkpoint, but it's so far out of the way that it's not worth getting. But yeah, after we end everything off with a ceiling super jump, you just go and finish the level. And immediately followed up with another really difficult level. So by getting sprint here at the beginning, we're able to skip some stuff later on. But I have to maintain sprint all throughout this section in order to actually get it. Because this platform right here that I jumped on, you're not normally supposed to reach that, but by having sprint in that previous area, you're able to just barely reach it. and skip a lot of stuff in that section.
It's also worth mentioning that the tiptoe power-up makes it very hard to maintain sprint speed, because if you touch any walls, you'll instantly cling to them and therefore lose sprint.
Alright, and here you'll see real quick that throwing a package at an enemy does knock it back, which is very important in this level. It doesn't come up very often, but it is very important when it does. And
there are a few levels where you have to do that.
Yeah, but thankfully it doesn't come up too often. And now we get a nice little hold right level. I say that half jokingly, but the IL for that level is actually just holding right the entire time without ever letting go. It's just very, very difficult, so I never go for it in runs. And now we get to follow it up with one of my least favorite levels, because it's entirely cycle-based, and one mistake throws everything off.
Clock switch tower, yeah.
Yeah, because if you die once as well, the checkpoints are far enough apart that it really hinders everything.
I'm not very good at the run for this level, so I also hate it.
Okay, I tried to skip a cycle there, but obviously I did not make it. Thankfully, that wasn't too bad. Ideally, I would have been like 15 seconds faster than that, but I will take what I can get on that level, because it can very easily go much worse. And speaking of cycles, now we get an auto-scroller. There's only a few true auto-scrollers in the run, about 2.5. But the fun thing about auto-scrollers in this game is, like we mentioned, the level editor in this game is very robust, and as a part of that level editor, there's an object called a camera anchor. And the way auto-scrollers work is you take that camera anchor, you utilize the path system to move it around a whole bunch, and the camera moves around, and you have to follow it.
There's also an item called a zoomar, which lets you customize how zoomed out or in the camera is, which is great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all the camera work in every single one of these levels is done manually through edited objects, which is just fun to realize. All right. That level's not hard, but it's always a little nerve-wracking because you'll lose like 20 seconds if you die one time, because it's an auto-scroller. All right, now we get to take a look at explosion momentum, because this level utilizes bombs.
It's very fun.
As you can see, you go very far when they blow up, and very fast. There's a few levels where that's going to matter a lot, but just keep that in the back of your mind for now.
Bombs are another item where you can sort of do something like a super jump with them, but basically just throwing them up and then jumping at the right time to get even higher.
Shoot, okay. I got the fast cycle, but I messed up that jump in the end and I didn't want to risk it. Okay. Alright, now we have another level that's a ton of cycles and is not one of my favorite levels. If you can tell, I'm not a huge fan of some of the cycle levels in the campaign.
I like this one.
This is probably a good level casually. If you try to speedrun it, this will happen to you. Where if you mess up the timing slightly, this section right here will just kill you over and over again.
Oh, sorry, I meant I liked Crumbler Canyon.
Oh,
I
okay.
hate Concrete Legend.
Okay. Yeah, Crumbler Canyon's a lot more fun. Ah,
Like, even playing casually, I think I enjoy speedrunning it more, because then I'm just running through the whole thing and getting through it as fast as possible.
Alright, and this is a fun little level that demonstrates how armor will work in this game. Where, as you can see, it pops you up. Oh, are you kidding me? I grabbed to the side instead of grabbing down by accident. But yeah, armor will pop you up, where it'll pop you in a different direction from where you're getting hit from, which will be very relevant in some levels. But that's what this whole level is built around.
Some people don't really like how unpredictable the momentum from the armor plates are, but they can be fun when used in speedruns.
Yeah, once you know how to predict them better, they're a lot of fun to use. It's just until you get to that point, they're very difficult to utilize.
In this level, An Unusual Time, it's important that he chose the zipper power-up because that allows him to get through a door without grabbing the key to open it. Because, you know, zippers can just teleport through walls.
And you might have noticed I opened the settings menu for a second there in between these two levels. That's because I did something called a map warp, where the little spaceship in between each level, you know, it has to travel in between each level. It takes a little bit of time to actually get there. But if you initiate that travel time and then open the settings menu and immediately close it, it will instantly put you on the level you're traveling to. And so when some of the travel times are longer than a second or two, it is faster to open the settings menu and close it than to actually wait out the animation.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a lot more useful in all levels than any percent, right?
Technically, no, but because it's actually all of the extra levels have short travel distances.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. There is another map trick I could be using, but it's a lot more precise and not worth going for until this run gets a lot more optimized. Because there is technically something we call a wrong warp, where if you input things very specifically, where you enter a level and then a couple frames later and input a direction, the game will move you on the map while still putting you into the level you just selected. And so when you come out of the level, you will show up on the tile next to the one you just entered. But because it's so precise, it's not worth going for until things are a lot more optimized, because it saves fractions of a second each time you go for it.
It's not a very risky technique, though, is it?
If you do it correctly, no. In that, if you play things safe and input the directional input a lot later than you think you need to, you will enter the level every time, and then sometimes you'll be able to get the wrong warp. But if you do it too early, you will move on the map before entering the level and waste time.
Right. And in that last level, he defeated an enemy called a Popjaw, which is like a teleporting shark, and they drop something called a Pop Medallion, which, when thrown, will teleport GR18 to its location. He's also got a new power-up called the Waylay. I think this is the first time we've seen it.
Yes, it is.
It allows the player to punch enemies, and the punch is also kind of like a mid-air dash. When used on the ground, it's horizontal and very fast when sprinting, as you just saw. But when used in the air, it's diagonal.
Messed up my jumps in this guy, and then he ended up way higher than I wanted him to. That's fine, though.
Speaking of Popjaws and Waylay.
Yeah, so this ending arena right here, the way enemy switches work, there's two types. There's one kind of enemy switch that checks to see how many enemies you defeated, and there's one that just checks to see if an enemy is present within a certain area. That ending arena right there, all it checks to see is if the big Popjaw is in the arena, and so we can bait him out of the arena by teleporting him, and it's a lot faster to do that than actually trying and killing him.
This game has something called on-time deliveries, which is basically like speedrun challenges for all the levels. And in that previous level, without the luring the boss out of the arena trick, it is such a pain.
Alright. And this level right here is going to showcase exactly why the Waylay is one of the best power-ups when it comes to movement in terms of pure speed. Because once we defeat this guy here, so we can unlock the camera. Whoops, missed it. There we go. Just go back up here, get sprint real quick, and then do this. By using the Waylay sprint dash and then jumping out of it, we can go very fast over a very long distance.
I never thought that would be useful outside of like obscure tech levels, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah. And then also by utilizing that bomb, we're able to go up and over the map and just get the package early and skip a whole section of this level. Because you're supposed to bring a whole bunch of batteries back to that middle area to get the package, but that's not necessary. Also, now we get a little song. So yeah, that level's supposed to showcase how boomboxes work, because there's a lot of opportunities to make custom music in this game. So it's just a short little level. Followed immediately by this level. This is a level about stacking boxes, as the developers would say. We don't need to.
Boxes is fun.
We don't need to stack boxes because we can super jump.
Or you could do that. That's also fun.
That is a level, as you can see from the on-time delivery, minute and a half. It's a little bit longer than the 10 seconds we spend in it. But we can skip a whole lot.
That is a crazy speedrun.
Alright. This level is tricky, because there's just a lot of cannons, and you have to just weave in between all of their shots. I would have preferred to keep that armor, but I will make it work. Okay. I accidentally hit the ceiling there. Alright.
I mean, you're doing a pretty great job dodging all the cannons.
Except for all the ones I'm hitting.
Except for those, but, you know, for the most part, pretty good.
Come on. Ooh, that one was in a weird spot. Okay, there we go. That's what I tried to do the first time. Yeah, so you might have noticed, yeah, the package breaks shots from cannons, so yeah, I utilize that a lot. And this is another level where it's like, it gives you a couple of choices of power-ups, but Zipper lets us skip a whole bunch of the level by just getting everything early. Yeah, because you're supposed to go around, hit a few switches to like let the package out of that middle area, but we can just skip all of them. Followed immediately by another level where we're supposed to do a whole bunch of things in a central area, and we're not going to.
Battery Gauntlet. I love Battery Gauntlet.
Yeah, so
you just need to get one battery, and then you can just zip around to the goal.
see, as you noticed, we're not grabbing any of these batteries because there's a zipper. And we can just go outside the map real quick and right back in. All right, this one's one of my favorite levels. Blink and you'll miss it. That's the whole level. Yeah, that was the first level I ever grinded in this game, and I got world record by 1/100th of a second on the IL.
That level?
Yes. Now that's a rift.
That sure is a rift.
Yeah, I got the record by 1/100th of a second, and it's still untied to this day, because optimizing that level is pretty dumb, if you can believe it.
Well, now I'm gonna have to start optimizing that level.
Go for it. All right, Chamber of Magic. This is a very interesting level where there's like a bunch of individual challenges. We're going to do about half of them as intended. Because, yeah, we just go over here to skip some stuff. And then we take this key to where we're supposed to go and, you know, just go through a whole bunch of rifts. Whoop, I messed up the jump for that one. But we're going to do things a little not intended. Because we can just grab that box to the spikes.
since we've been talking a lot about rifts, I want to talk about just how awesome the level editor is. Like you can place these in your own levels. Obviously, most of these items, except for a few campaign-specific things, you can put in your own levels, and you can like
Whoops.
assign them channel IDs, sending or destination, and then receiving channel IDs. So you can do a lot of cool stuff. That's also how you make randomized elements in this game, because one rift with multiple destination rifts will just choose one of them at random.
All right, now we have it's definitely one of the favorite levels for all speedrunners, and not at all one of the most hated levels.
Oh, yep.
Hollow Mountain Hike.
Everyone loves it.
As you can see, it's a whole lot of moving platforms. And yeah, moving platforms are very not intuitive at first for momentum. Once you get used to them, they're not too bad. But until that point, they're very not easy to utilize and take advantage of. And on top of that, there's a whole bunch of cycles on this level to make it even more fun.
Yeah, so it's very hard for someone who's kind of just feeling out the speedrun and trying it for the first time, like when I started.
Yeah, it's basically until you spend time just labbing out a strategy that works for you on this level, you could easily spend 1.5, 2 minutes on this level, if not more. But once you know what you're doing, hopefully it won't take longer than a minute. Sometimes it still does. But we get to follow it up with yet another level that is just full of moving platforms. I like this level, but at the same time I hate this level. It's a very fun level to get correctly, but as you can see, there's literally only the one checkpoint in this level, so one mistake and you lose a ton of time.
I think this might be one of the first, like, IL speedruns I've seen from Levelhead.
Yeah, it's
like
a very
this level specifically, yeah.
It's a very cool level to get perfectly. It's just very, very difficult to get it perfectly. But now we get to see one of the coolest skips in the game. So, like we said with armor, and you know, it gives you a little boost of momentum. Specifically with those fire bars, you get a ton of momentum, and that lets you just hop up right onto the top of this map and zip over most of it. Yeah, this level normally takes almost a full minute. Using this strategy, you can beat it in under 17 seconds.
It's really impressive how you can get that skip, like, mostly first try, maybe in like 3 tries in some attempts, when it takes me like 20.
It's one of those things where once you get a feel for it, it's a lot easier. It just obviously takes practice to get a feel for it. But it always looks really cool when you do get it, thankfully. If the host has anything else to say, now is another good time to hop in.
If not, I should explain what those things in that level were. Those were called flingos, and GR18 can grab them with its little grappler arm and fling itself in one of 4 directions based on the direction you grab it from. And also, if you're walking on the ground and use a flingo horizontally, you'll instantly get sprint speed, which is very useful.
Yeah, and the important thing to note is the further away you are from the flingo, the more speed you get. And so there's a lot of opportunities where we want to be as far away from the flingo as possible to get as much speed as possible. And there's other times where we very much don't want that. And we want to be as close as possible to keep our height down or our momentum down. And here we have another fan favorite enemy, the Flip Whip.
Would you say it's the most hated?
I think it's the most commonly hated. I don't know if it has the most vitriol behind it or not.
It's definitely my least favorite enemy, I think.
Once you know how to kill them, they're honestly not that bad. It's just until you get used to killing them. And then casually, this is Nope Cart. Casually, one of the hardest levels in the game, despite being essentially a glorified auto-scroller. All right, that wasn't even the hard part. That was just me messing it up. But basically, as you can see, you're on a moving platform the whole time. There's tons of flingos, tons of obstacles, and then there's also this last section, which is just full of homing rockets.
Nope Cart is kind of infamous just because people hate it. I don't know if people think it's bad or it's just annoying, but it's not well liked.
Yeah, because like I said, casually, very difficult. Once you know what you're doing, it's not that bad. All right, and this is a fun little level where, you have to go around, find all those little signs so you can figure out the code and input the code here. I already know the code. Oh, shoot it. I missed the first one by accident. But yeah, I already know the code, so we can just go ahead and finish the level real quick. Nice and easy. And then GR18 in the machine has a fun little gimmick where you have to drop these enemies into the little bin there. The problem is, if you don't know the cycles really well, this level is very, very annoying. Thankfully, it's consistent, so once you know what you're doing, it's not that bad. Yeah, you will not beat that level in 17 seconds before you learn those cycles.
It's a pretty good example of some of the neat things you can do with the editor, like make little mini games like that.
Yeah, so this level, it features the Electro Shield, which is a little power-up at the start of the level, as you saw, like, there was that electricity thing I had going, and it shows up here again, where every enemy you touch, you can instantly kill them. And unfortunately, that one enemy hit me into the Slurp Juice, which is not a power-up I want, because it slows everything down.
True,
But
it is pretty much, once you know what you're doing, it's not that bad, basically.
But thankfully, Slurp only shows up at a couple levels, and I don't need to grab it in almost any of them. So as long as I'm careful, we don't ever have to deal with slowing down from it.
I think Slurp Juice is pretty fun casually, but people still hate it.
Because even when you're playing casually, you don't want to go slow.
I think sometimes it's useful.
It's not that it's not useful, it's that when you don't want it, you really don't want it.
That's true.
But speaking of enemy gimmick levels, here we have another one where this whole level, the gimmick is there's tons of enemies, you're given all of the resources you need to kill every single one of them. But as soon as you do kill one of them, the entire level will kill you. Like that. That was definitely a demonstration and not at all a mistake.
That's another awesome thing you can do with the editor. You can set up the switches to punish people or reward them for killing enemies.
Yeah, this is a fun level to speedrun because you have to specifically avoid a whole bunch of stuff that you normally never avoid in any other level. But now we're moving on to the next power-up. We've got a few so far, moving forward, punching, grabbing walls. Now we have a jetpack. So basically, this is the ripcord. And the way the ripcord works is, like I said, you have a jetpack, but you also have a little hover. So that when you hold the power-up button, you fall slowly. The jetpack has a limited amount of fuel, the hover doesn't. And by pixel jumping right here, we can recharge our fuel and skip a little section.
In an any % run, this is where we would introduce a pixel jump, but I think we already went over that.
Yes.
It has to do with spike hitboxes being smaller than the hitboxes of ground tiles, so you can just jump on the edge.
Darn. Okay, so what you might have seen me go for right there is the hardest skip I go for in any run. Basically, I mentioned briefly earlier that you can go under the map. It's not really something you can do much with because of gravity. The Ripcord is the one power-up that will easily let you counteract that, and as a result, you can go under stuff that you normally wouldn't be able to go under in any other circumstance. And if I had gotten the skip first try, I would have gone under the middle of that map and skipped that whole middle section with the batteries. The reason why it's the hardest skip in the run is because the timing required to ripcord back up from under the map without dying is extremely precise, and you only ever get one try at it on that level because of the checkpoint that you hit.
And as you can guess, several people have made levels where you have to do that, but several times in a row.
Yeah, it's a very fun skip to get first try. It's just very difficult, and so I never rely on getting it. I've gotten it less than 10 times total, I think, in runs ever. And here we have just a nice little battle arena with a bunch of swoopadoops.
Sting Like a Bee is probably my favorite level, just because I really like brawlers.
He really hates swoopadoops, and he's a fan of whenever we get to kill him.
That too.
All right. And like I mentioned earlier with the bombs, explosions make us go very fast, very quickly. And this level is one where we utilize cannons that fire explosive shots as opposed to utilizing bombs themselves. And so the idea is these cannons are supposed to push us into the obstacles. But in very specific circumstances, we can just utilize them to go faster.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of them throughout this run, but the cannons have all sorts of different projectiles that they can shoot. They have these homing rockets that don't hurt GR18, but hurt enemies and kind of blast GR18 away. Homing missiles that will hurt GR18, fire that kills enemies, missiles or rockets that GR18 can bounce off of, like little platforms. There's a lot.
All right, now we get to utilize bombs to just break a whole bunch of blocks and move and hit a whole bunch of switches. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. Let's go back real quick. Because if I didn't mess up the timing on that grab, you can just very easily just grab that key early and completely ignore the puzzle in that section.
And the timing for grabbing things is pretty forgiving, because pretty much the entire time your grappler is out, you can grab things that come across it.
In this next level, the whole gimmick is you're supposed to ride around in those little blocks that have spikes coming out of them. Right, hence the name Ride the Spike. However, yeah, we don't need to do that. We can just skip the whole level using momentum.
That happens on a lot of levels in this speedrun.
That one's one of my favorites, just because of how long the level's supposed to be, and how you can just abuse platform momentum to get out of it real quick.
I think it's another level that I really hated speedrunning before I knew how to speedrun it.
Yeah, because casually you would never think to skip all that stuff like that. Ooh, that's not look great. Okay. This level, as you can see, is it's a little frustrating because you're supposed to bait the cannons into shooting specific enemies in specific ways, but things start going poorly. It is very difficult to come back from it. Wait, did I just not fire this one? Yeah, I absolutely didn't. Okay, that's fine. That absolutely could have gone better, but I've done worse, so I will take it.
This game does control super smoothly, at least in our opinions, but we play it a lot, so...
Yeah, and here we have one of the best level names in the entire campaign, Grand Theft Grotto. And it's a good time to talk about how this game does not have a free naming system where you can't just input any level name you want. Instead, it has a huge list of words that you can pull from to just mix and match and make whatever kind of level name you want from what's available. And the devs, for the most part, used that same system when naming all the campaign levels. And while you might not be able to name a level exactly what you want to, a lot of the time you end up with a level name that is way more interesting than you would have otherwise. Because you can just hit the randomize button, get a few words, and put them together. If you
I
can't
know
think of
that
anything.
my level titles would definitely be way less interesting if I got to just name them freely.
And here, oh, well, never mind. I was going to say I was skipping the ripcord because, you know, the power-up animation takes about a second, but I accidentally grabbed it, so we wasted a second instead. And that was the last map warp of the run. And here we're also coming up on the final power-up of the run. It is called the Rebound, as you might have guessed from the level title. The Rebound lets you fire projectiles, and as a consequence of firing projectiles, it also launches you backwards.
Yeah, all of the power-ups in this game are pretty movement-based. All of them can be used to move in different unique ways, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And you might have noticed for a second there as well, you can also bounce off of the shots you fire with Rebound, which is useful in some levels. Yeah, the Rebound is not a power-up people are super fond of because it absolutely is not the most intuitive power-up in the game. But once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun to use.
I'm not a huge fan of it. But all of the power-ups are good. Well, I don't think there's a bad power-up.
Yeah, at worst, it's just going to be not your favorite. That can still be fun in certain circumstances.
And
Yeah,
here we just have a bunch of super jumps.
Yeah, this is one of those levels where it is very easy to just start missing super jumps and lose a ton of time, but thankfully that wasn't too bad. I got all the super jumps at least. And here we have the final auto-scroller of the run as well. I will mention this is the third to last level, so the run is coming to an end very soon. Yeah, this is one of those levels that it's honestly, like, it's not a super easy level casually, but for speedrunning, it's very simple. And so I'm always a fan of it because, you know, it's a little breather before we get the final two levels.
I don't think it's too hard casually. I mean, I don't know. I probably did struggle with it at first.
But yeah, this second to last level in the campaign is a troll level, because, you know, why wouldn't the second to last level be a troll level? But we're able to...
So the package on the left, if you had gone and tried to grab it, it would have just gone away.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of trolls in this level that I am skipping. That you ideally you would never see in a speedrun, because we can just skip most of them. Yeah, I got
recovery.
Got hit a little bit at the end by those bumpers, but here we have the final level of the campaign. This level's like a whole final hurrah, like a last send-off. You know, just utilizing all the elements in the campaign. got to go through all the power-ups, everything like that. Yeah, we can just super jump here, and we've beaten the tiptoe section.
Something interesting about the final level, you can technically beat it in 10 seconds, but it's banned on the speedrun.com page because it's really boring.
Yeah, and it's also like a skip that the developers specifically updated this level to try and patch out and stuff like that. So, in the spirit of things, we decided not to utilize that one because it's also extremely inconsistent.
Yeah, the devs said they spent a lot of time trying to prevent the 10-second skip, and it's still there.
But yeah, like I said, we get to go through all the power-ups except for tiptoe because we skipped it. Get in one last shell jump. And then once we get to zipper, things get really interesting.
It's just perfect that you can basically skip almost the entire last portion of the final level with zipper.
Yeah, because now that we're here, we're going to come up on time very shortly. Yeah, this last section, we can just use zipper and skip everything in here. Oops, I don't know why I hit B there. That was an accident. But right here, that is time right there. We get to see a little Blobfish friend, alive and well, giving us a little congratulations for finishing the run.
Yeah, so you just avoid all those power-ups.
But yeah, like I said, that is the end of the run. That is all 93 levels in the campaign completed.
It's not too bad. What was your time? 58 minutes?
58 minutes is pretty good.
I mean, better than I could do. What's the world record?
Record is 55 minutes and 40 seconds, I believe.
Alright, not bad.
Well, there you are, dude. You weren't even 3 minutes behind the world record on a marathon run, so that's nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
But GG, and thank you guys. That is absolutely fantastic run. I always loved watching this game. It's so much fun. Any final messages before we move on?
Yeah, I just want to say if anybody's ever interested in picking up this game, it's available on pretty much every platform that isn't PlayStation. And if you're ever interested in speedrunning this game, we all meet in the Butterscotch Shenanigans, which is the developer of this game. We meet in their Discord. So if you ever were interested in picking up this game, playing it, speedrunning it, feel free to just join the community and feel free to reach out. And if you ever wanted to watch more speedruns of this game, I try and play it every week. So if you want to see me over at my Twitch channel, it's just the same as my username, twitch.tv/IllegallySam. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So, Cashy, if you have any final words.
Yeah, it's a really awesome community. So even if you're not interested in the game, I would still kind of recommend joining just because it's fun there. And thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's always fun showing off Levelhead for people. So, yeah, thanks for having me and letting me do this.
Well, no, thank you guys. It's absolutely fantastic run, and we got a lot of chats that seem to enjoy it very much. So I definitely think you're right on that. So yeah, just before we do move on, we're going to head to an intermission now, and when we return, Sineth will be returning to join us, and he will be showing off Bo, part of the Teal Lotus, an alpha build demo. It's a fairly short run from the seams of it. I believe he is being joined by the developers for the game itself. So we will head over to an intermission, and we'll be back with that very shortly. Thank you.
Alright, everybody's still hot. I'm gonna wait on the transition to make sure that everything is set up, so please do not speak. We're still live until further notice.